how did you? So you were saying before about you're previously doing carpet cleaning, and then you decided to pivot, I guess, into the pest control business.
Yes.
Like, what how did you get into carpet cleaning? Like, where did it all start?
So a friend of mine was doing carpet cleaning, he had his own business, and I worked with him for a little while, and just to get a gist of what he did, and thought, oh, this is something that we could do. He was doing it down in Whittianga, and we were living in Auckland, so so I thought I'll start it up here, and that's where it started. And with carpet cleaning, you do generally some pest control. There's that's often a avenue that you go down as well, and so that's where the pest control side of things started as well. And
because I guess in carpet you get that carpet beetle or whatever it's called.
And even for flea treatments and that, often people will want carpets cleaned and then you spray for fleas. So
So as you were doing the carpet business, and at what point did you sort of think? At what point did the pest thing become really obvious to you?
Fairly early on, it became obvious of the demand for it, and what I saw was an opportunity to really grow that side, particularly with service programs, so that the recurring type business, where we were going to premises every month or 2 months or 3 months to service.
That's good. That's a good idea to have a program like that, because it gives you regular cash flow, regular income, and you can kind of plan your other parts of the business around it.
Exactly. And it particularly helps, like for pest control, it's a seasonal business, so it's generally quieter in the winter time and busier in the summertime. So with service programs, it's all 12 months of the year, so you can it really helps you to manage your schedule, workflow, and your cash flow as well, because nothing's guaranteed, but to a certain degree you have that guaranteed income and work coming in. With
the, well, you just mentioned the seasons there. Like, I think we're kind of aware that in some of these it's probably better breeding conditions for a lot of these bugs. Does that mean that in winter there's no pests, or is there just a reduced number?
Yeah, exactly. It's a reduced number. So some of them will literally die off. They just can't live through the winter season. And you're right. Yeah, that with the others, it's just a reduced number. So yeah.
And I guess the first thing that people think about with bloody pest control usually is I think cockroaches.
Yes.
But we know. I was looking through your website today, and there's I was flicking through the different pests, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Oh, that's right. You got right down to fleas and bloody flies and wasps. I bloody hate wasps. So do you have to have a specific I guess treatment plan for every type of insect?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, they all require different care.
You do. So you need to determine what the insect is, and sometimes that may seem silly, but sometimes someone may describe what they think the insect is, but in actual fact, say cockroaches, for example, there's 5 common cockroaches, and each one requires a different treatment process and different products as well. So so it's a matter of determining what the pest is, and then what the treatment plan should be for that pest and the products.
Cockroaches, we're told that there's the German variety.
Yep.
Obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But then, like, we live out in Titirangi, so we've got bush all around us, and we get those flat brown or black ones. They don't seem to be that annoying. Like, they're just always there. They're not gross like those German cockroaches.
No. So they don't, for example, what you're talking about, the Gisborne and native cockroaches, they don't carry diseases. They live outside. They will come inside, but they don't breed inside or anything like that. So and they take it, it's a different type of treatment for them than it would be for a German cockroach.
Yeah. I've seen some pretty big German cockroaches, by crikey. Like, I remember we were managing a building down in the viaduct a number of years ago, and they had a grease trap room, and I went into this room one day, and I saw this thing sitting on the side of the grease trap. It was a big concrete bloody grease trap, and I swear it was like the size of a mouse.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sure
yeah.
it looked at me and like gave me the finger, and
Yeah.
I scurried out of that room. It was so huge.
Yeah, well, American cockroaches are even bigger again than the German cockroaches, and so and you're talking about the viaduct, you'll get those in areas like that too, where there's a lot of sewer systems and drain systems, and yeah.
So have you had to learn quite a lot about like insects?
Yes.
In general?
Yeah.
Because I mean, in order to kill them, you have to understand them pretty well.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just about dosing them or you know, there's
spray and walk away.
Yeah. There's a whole lot to learn.
Yeah. So you need to learn You need to learn the metabolism, the makeup of them, and so forth, and then how they the breeding process, where they like to live as such, where their habitat is. Because often it can be, apart from just treating with, for better word, chemicals and that, it's also about minimising the opportunity for them to breed again, and often that can be the environment that they're living in. So,
because I mean, what do you know, like percentage wise, like what percentage of insects either have to, like, do they have to ingest the stuff, or do they have to, is it just like topical, and is it residue in their bodies that kills them?
So no, generally it's ingestion. So through feeding and that type of thing. So take a fly, for example. You'll spray a surface, they'll land on it, and then they'll have it on there, on their legs and so forth, and then they ingest it and die. So generally, it's ingestion that.
Developed a bit of a theory. I don't think fly spray bloody works anymore.
My wife was saying the same thing, funnily enough. I
think it's either the flies have evolved, or the fly spray companies are just taking the mickey, getting you to spray more and buy more. But I noticed around our place for about a week, like there was the same little group of flies, and I'm sure they were exactly the same. And I was spraying them, and back in the old days, you'd spray these flies and they'd drop dead, and you'd see them on your windowsill or around on the floor or whatever, but you sweep them up. But I don't see any dead flies around the house. I'm thinking, does this stuff still bloody work?
My wife was saying the same thing actually about the store-bought.
And so you guys obviously know where all the good chemicals are from.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Is it do you have you figured out like good suppliers versus bad suppliers? Or,
I mean, there's like I guess anything. There's a whole range of products that you can choose from. So, and really ours has been through trial and error. So, because every manufacturer is going to say that their product's the best, but what we've found through trial and error is there's a certain range of products that we believe are the best for each insect or each pest to use, and so that's that's how we've done it really.
So with that in mind, like, what are some of them, like, sort of, we've already talked about a few of them, but what are some of the more common pests that you come across? Like, there's probably like a top 5.
So ants, cockroaches, like you mentioned, what we call house flies in the summertime, spiders, fleas are another common one, and rodents in the wintertime.
Right. We were talking before about bedbugs, and how that's certain buildings around town. There's a real issue with bedbugs. And there has been, like, historically, and they're bloody hard to kill. Those things. What do you know about bed bugs from that point of view?
I mean, you're right. They are very hard to kill, and often in apartment complexes where there's you could say overcrowding, for a better word, as well. So that can be very, very hard to get on top of, where you've got people coming and going all the time. That they're normally brought in through suitcases and boxes and bags and so forth, and as more and more people are travelling worldwide, the problems got worse because of that too. So
actually, just on the travel point, because that kind of links in with the COVID question around how was the pest control business during COVID. Less travel. I wonder if there was less of that bug movement. You're right. There was definitely those like bed bugs, for example, that are literally brought in by people, and so there definitely was. But what there was more of was more people
thinking that they were getting bites and so forth. So there was more, I think, because of the anxiety and that some people went through, they were actually feeling like they were getting bitten by something. So we had more of that type of thing where it's almost, dare I say, an illusion. That,
So you think that people, because they were more on edge during the pandemic, that they were, it's not making it up, but they thought that they were getting bitten?
Yeah, I mean,
that's out of it. That's really bloody bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, it can happen. We come across it at any time.
Yeah.
You'll have a small group that unfortunately will have that, but certainly with COVID, it was exasperated.
Worse.
Yeah.
How was did your business go through COVID? You guys got through all right?
We certainly got through all right, and more fortunate than say hospitality or some other industries. But the business, the workload and business was definitely reduced dramatically. There was only so much that we could do. We could only access certain premises. So it was.
So once the restrictions started to come off, did you notice the uptick? And then when there was an uptick, was there more bloody pests everywhere because you hadn't been sort of nuking them?
No, there wasn't really. Yeah, there was an increase in demand for people wanting treatments and so forth done, but that was more because I think, if I remember rightly, in Auckland at the time we were leading into that summertime anyway when the last lockdown came off.
Right.
So there was definitely a increase in demand, but it was more people just wanting their summer treatments and so forth.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that because you guys hadn't been out there nuking all the bugs, there'd be a lot more of them.
You're right, but it wasn't. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So you've been in the industry for how long?
11
now?
years.
11 years.
Yeah.
So what have you seen, like, change-wise from when you first started out to now? Has there been changes with, I guess, methodology or chemicals or health and safety?
Yeah,
all
of that really.
Yeah.
Starting from, when we first started, we were writing reports on pen and paper, literally, and from there, it's all electronic format for us, and a lot of the industry now. So that's changed. The reliance on just using chemicals has changed as well. So in the old days, you sprayed and that was supposed to be the magic cure. Now there's more emphasis on like a partnership basically. So we can go in and do so much to treat a property, but then the property owner is provided with recommendations on what they can do as well to mitigate the problem long term. So that's changed. Health and safety wise, the chemicals have got a lot more what you may call user friendly than what they used to be, and certain chemicals have been banned and so forth. So,
Does that mean that they're just a bit more watered down?
Not so much watered down, but certain active ingredients. Certain chemical actives have been banned basically.
I know the refrigeration industry went through that with one of their particular gases, and they had to stop using it. They had to stop using it, or they just had to pay exorbitant amounts to keep using it. So people decided not to use it. Yeah. I mean, the less of those harmful chemicals out there, the better, I guess. But So, what do you think? Like, when we were talking before about when people sort of hear pest control, they think, it's usually one of a handful of things: cockroaches, mice, rats, fleas, or whatever. Do you think there's any sort of misconceptions about the pest control industry and what actually sort of goes on?
Yep, I think one. Well, there's several, but one is that we will come in and be able to resolve everything for them. When, like I mentioned before, it's a partnership. So, and that's partly been the industry's fault as well. That take flies for example. We can go and we can spray for flies, but if there's compost bins outside and there's rubbish everywhere, and that what we do may have an immediate effect, but it's not going to have a long-term effect if the other things aren't addressed as well. So there's that side of things. There's also the people think that what we're using is incredibly harmful and toxic and that type of thing. And in actual fact, yes, we have to take precautions and so forth, but it's a lot more user friendly now than what it health wise and that than what it ever was.
Yeah, that's good, eh?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a real good test of, if people aren't coughing and spluttering, shortly after you've done a treatment, it's probably a pretty good sign.
Yeah. And yet some people, because of the old days, I think some people, if they can't smell something after we've done a treatment, they're like, well, did you do anything, sort of, So,
Because actually, like, that's what I wanted to talk about was, so when you do a treatment for, let's say, I don't know, we'll talk about cockroaches.
Yep.
So you go to someone's house or apartment, they have to leave?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what, do you sort of set off one of those sort of bomb
No.
things?
We recommend they leave for 4 hours.
Yep.
Doesn't always take us 4 hours, but that's the recommended time. So we'll go through, say if it's German cockroaches, for example, so we'll normally go through and, say if it's an apartment, we'll do a spray treatment, and then we'll also gel bait areas where we can't spray. So say a fridge motor, for example, your electronics and that, so we'll go through and gel bait all those areas. We may have to use an insecticide dust in certain areas, cracks and crevices. We may put down monitoring traps so that when we go back the second time, we can get an visible indication of any hot spots still. So there's normally 4 or 5 products that we'll use.
No, that's cool. We had I remember years ago we had a wasp nest up in one of our ceilings, and you could see these bloody things coming and going all day. Once we found out where they were coming to, which was our house, we thought we'd better get this seen to.
Yeah.
And the guy came along and he had this white powder stuff.
Yeah.
And he literally had this little handheld blower. And I was like, hey, what are you going to do with that? And he had put all this white powder down a long sort of plastic tube.
Yeah.
He put it up into where the thing was, and he just pulled the trigger on the blower, and it just shot this powder into the thing.
Yeah.
And they go ape shit for half an hour or so, but man, that stuff worked like a charm.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any sort of tricks of the trade that you use or special methods of
Yes.
applying?
So for example, with the wasp nest that you're talking about, so we use what we call a power duster. So it's a battery powered duster, similar to what you're talking about, but you put it in a canister and it just fires it into the nest opening. So
wasps are nasty, eh?
Yeah.
You got to be real careful about those.
Yeah.
I've heard of people probably not in New Zealand, but people can get killed by wasps.
Absolutely. Especially if they're out walking or something and accidentally stand on a nest or something. Bush walks and so forth.
Have you had to deal with any of those sort of whopping great big nests?
We have. The biggest I've done would be round figures a metre by a metre. It was set into a bank, and it actually started. The bank had started giving way because of the size of the nest, and someone else had come along to try and treat it, and had literally walked away from it. It was just too much, because you've got, what will happen is they'll all be firing at you, and you're in a suit and that, but you've sort of got to hold your nerve a bit, because otherwise, you
could still get stung through the bloody suit too.
You can. If you use we use a power duster, which we find helps because it sort of keeps them at bay a bit.
I can't stand wasps. I love honeybees are so cool. They have a community, and they provide honey and all that sort of thing. But wasps are just dickheads. I just think, what are they actually there for? Who do they? Who do they report to?
Aggressive and
Man. So that you're using these chemicals and things, do you have to be quite aware of, say, a neighbouring property, or do you try and localise the treatment as much as you can? Or you're not just sort of spraying it into the wind.
Exactly. We do have to be very careful of neighbouring properties where we're spraying, even within the property itself where we're spraying, and certainly if the wind and the wind direction is too high, then we may have to say, look, we need to come back on a day where it's calmer. Certainly we need to be aware. For, like you mentioned, bees earlier, fish are another one, for example. If people have outside fish ponds and that, then
it's a no-go.
They won't last. Bird aviaries, so
didn't actually really think much about that until you started mentioning other pets. There's ones that you want to kill, and then there's you don't want to. There's ones that you don't want to kill. Any sort of have you ever had an allergic reaction to any of the pests that you've had to encounter?
No. I mean, I've had I've had the odd bee sting,
Yeah.
or wasp sting, I should say, but apart from nothing else. So
Okay.
yeah.
Because I mean, like you see, we were saying before about the bed bugs and things.
Yes.
And, you see some horrific sort of, I guess, stuff online about people that have either been bitten or been involved with an infestation of bed bugs, and they come up in bloody welts and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And some people can have some quite nasty reactions to even to like mosquito bites.
Yeah, they do, and then others don't. It's,
I've never really had a massive reaction to anything like that. So
yeah,
maybe one of the luckier ones.
That's right. Yeah.
So you were saying before about you do the treatment, but then if they're not dealing with these other environmental factors, they're not going to stop their problem. So what's a couple of typical sort of scenarios that you normally say, hey, don't do this because you'll keep getting this?
Yep, sure. So rubbish, for example, piled outside is one, and that could be for to attract flies. It can attract rodents. Another one, for example, say if rodents are getting into a roof cavity of a property, to cut back the trees. So often they'll climb up the trees and get in between the roof and the guttering. Cut back the trees and vegetation a metre. Certain, if we see holes in that, we'll recommend sealing those up. So
And is it generally just sort of like the domestic stuff you deal with, or do you? Because reason asking, like I was watching Country Calendar last night.
yeah.
And they were doing a thing about like high country trapping.
Yes.
And so you got these people that go around and change these traps and get out all the nasties and things like I think it was stoats and all that sort of thing. But do you guys do that sort of thing?
Not as far as rural properties go. So ours is urban. So certainly we trap possums and so forth. But not in a rural situation. It's just because of where we're located. It's But even within Auckland, you'd be surprised how many possums are around.
Mate. Tell me about it. Like living out in Titirangi, our neighbour traps. Funny, we've never had an issue with them, but the neighbour has always had an issue because they've got I think they've got like a bush highway that literally runs through their section. And over the years, they've trapped like 40 possums. And some of them are bloody huge.
They are. And you wonder how the heck Sometimes you wonder how the heck they're getting into the roof cavity and that, because they're as big as cats.
Possums are bloody strange. It's like they don't feel pain, or they take a lot to kill them. If you don't kill them properly.
They do. They do. Yeah.
Do you guys just use like the normal possum trap?
Yeah. So we'll use kill traps or possum bait, those are the two. We do use live cages when we need to, and then euthanize them ourselves. But
Do you think there's like are there people out there that do sort of give you a hard time about killing things like that?
A few. It would be the minority, but there
usually
are there are a few, and even when we're treating properties, we've got to be very aware of the neighbours, just for the fact that we're spraying, even if there's nothing in their property that's going to be affected. Just some people seeing us suited up, masked up, spraying.
Do you guys always wear like full on kit when you're doing
when we're spraying and so forth? If we're say baiting for rodents, we don't need to. We need to wear gloves and that, but we don't need to wear masks and that. But
So you got the old PPE, like the masks. Do you ever wear a rebreather? Or
whatever? Exactly. Yeah. So proper mask and coveralls and
From a like just a team point of view, like how many staff do you guys have?
So we've got seven. So there's myself and my wife, and then five other staff. So,
and is it like training your staff? That's obviously pretty high priority. You can grow your business, but is it an easy thing to learn?
It is. So there's
or to train. Sorry.
Yep. No, it is. It's fairly easy to train. It's really just it's a time thing as much as anything. So coming across the different once you've done the theory side, it's just coming across the different situations and which is out in the field, and that's a time thing. That could take 2 or 3 years to really come across all the common scenarios that you'll come across and what to do in those.
Because do you guys have to have a certification?
Yeah. So there's Yep. No, we do. So in the old days, it was just a 4-hour course that you needed to take. But they've changed all that, as part of with time. So now there's a course that you take, and you have 18 months to finish it, basically. So anyone that we employ, we of course put them through that course and pay for it. And
that's good to know. So there is like an industry body that you guys have to report to, and so they set the standards and all that sort of thing.
And it's all done through Open Polytech, so it's it's not even just it's not even just an industry course. It's actually through Open Polytech.
No, that's good, man. It's good to know that there is a standard out there that you have to like achieve or aspire to.
And that's improved over the years too. You know, in the old days it was a bit more of the Wild West. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you must see other operators out there like you guys do everything properly, but then there's probably old Joe down the road who's just cracking away with a can of fly spray.
You do see all sorts, unfortunately, and which is it's not good for the industry, but it's not good for the customer either, because
What's the hardest like sort of infestation that you've had to deal with? Like has there been one that sort of stumped you a bit, or that's taken multiple visits?
German cockroaches would be the hardest, in the sense of the infestation can be so big that it can just take multiple attempts to really get on top of it.
Because they don't seem to have a nest, eh? Like they just sort of live in any crack or any crevice.
Exactly. Within groups, and as they multiply, it just gets bigger and bigger, and they
The house that we live in, we bought it back at the end of 2012, and funnily enough, we bought it off a German lady.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And funnily enough, we find that the bloody dishwashers were they're infested with these things. Yeah. To the point where, like, you'd get up in the morning and you'd, like, when we first started realising, we're like, what the hell was that? You see it scuttling across the bench. Yeah. And so we decided one weekend pretty soon after, we bought a whole lot of bloody of the gels and all sorts of shit. Yeah. We opened up the dishwasher. My God, like that's when we knew it's definitely, because they just all start running. Yeah. And took off all the the panels and stuff, and we managed to nail them. Like we laid all this bait around the entire kitchen, and then we left for the weekend. Yeah. And we just left the whole bloody house, and then came back, heaps of dead ones, and then no more issue. So it clearly worked, but it was just ironic that it was a German lady and a German cockroach infection.
Yeah, well, and they can get into the, you're talking about dishwashers, they can get into the electronics and damage them, so it can become an expensive.
Oh, for sure. We ended up renovating the kitchen not long after and ditching them anyway, but it was just fucking disgusting, and it's not something that we could have seen, just with an open home inspection or anything like that. So over time, they just sort of, reared their heads away.
Yeah, and often it'll be at night as well. Yeah. So
it was at night, because you'd see them just like scuttling across the floor. Fucking gross. So that was a bit of an eye opener. We'd never sort of seen that sort of. It's amazing what people will tolerate. Like she clearly knew that they were there, or she may not have, but just sort of didn't realise how to deal with it or something.
No, you're right. I mean, the same I often think with bedbug infestations is how have they put up with it for so long? Because often they'll put up with it for months and months and months, and
I can't stand I'm not going to kill them, but I just don't like spiders and stuff. I admire them because they're a beautiful creature, but fuck, they give me the willies. I'm just like, I just run a mile. I'm a real chicken when it comes to that sort of thing. But as soon as any bug like that is in your space, it's just like, no, I've got to try and get rid of it. Whether it's getting people like yourselves in, or just doing the DIY stuff. How do you find that DIY stuff that you just buy off the shelf down at the the local Mitre 10 or Bunnings? Is it any good?
So look, for small infestations it is. So generally it'll be one or two active ingredients, and it will be at a very low percentage. So that's and then it's a matter of the person knowing where to treat as well. So what to actually do with it, where to apply it and so forth. So there's nothing wrong with it, and there's a place for it. But what we use, for example, is a lot stronger, and we use a whole range of chemicals or active ingredients for a particular the particular pest. So
I bet you're glad you live in New Zealand and not anywhere else, because we've got some pretty like laid back pests, really.
Yeah, in comparison, that's right.
Like, you go to like Australia, the pest control over there must be horrific.
Well, they have as you know, termites, for example, which are on a whole different scale again than what we've got over here, and snakes, you know. So spiders.
Man, I think we're so lucky to live in New Zealand where we don't have any of that stuff. I probably wouldn't go outside.
It's the temperature as much as anything. That,
True.
True.
Have you ever seen like a particular pest or something in a movie or a documentary and thought, bugger that, I'd never try and even have a crack at killing or something like that?
Probably snakes would be the one that, I mean, I would if I had to, but initially I'd be pretty apprehensive about, because you see them even up in roof cavities and that sort of thing. They'll be living up there, and sometimes pest controllers or even another trade will go up into a roof cavity to be doing something, and next minute is
face to face with a king or big brown snake or whatever. Bugger that. No, I like Australia, but the pest thing would do my head in, I think, and just the sheer variety of it, it's
that's right.
Oof. And most of them can kill you.
They sure can.
I'm happy with just getting the odd mosquito bite every now and
bite
then.
or something.
No, that's cool. Do you find like do certain insects live in certain environments, like we were saying before about getting up into roof spaces? Like, do you find that like would all pests go into roof spaces?
No. So, for example, German cockroaches will live where there's they need warmth, but they also need moisture as well. So they wouldn't be in a roof cavity, whereas rodents will be in a roof cavity. They'll be coming and going. All pests need food and water like us, but some survive in different ways, So rodents, for example, if they're in a roof cavity, they'll be coming and going. They won't be in the roof cavity 24/7.
What do like flies just need rubbish?
So,
trash.
So flies need moisture for breeding as well. So they need moisture and food, of some sort as well. So most pests will need. They all need moisture in particular, so water,
And so do the chemicals, like I know with some of the rat stuff, they reckon the rats will eat the bait and it makes them super thirsty and they go drink themselves to death.
It's a fallacy.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's a myth. Are we busting a myth?
Yeah, we are. It's a fallacy. It's and I'm not sure if it was created in the pest control industry because it sounds good to awesome. The customer, but in actual fact, the bait itself doesn't make them thirsty and go out and look for water. So they need water, like we mentioned before, but it's not from eating the bait itself. It's the same as they naturally need to chew, and people think that they're chewing water pipes just to get water in that, but it's not. That's not the case either.
I've heard that one too. They'll chew the water pipes to get the water because they're so bloody thirsty.
They're chewing because they need to chew basically. Otherwise, their teeth just keep growing and growing. So,
So the rats are pretty impressive sort of little animal, eh? Like it's pretty resilient,
yes,
a rat.
They sure are. Yeah.
Do you come across many rats in your travels?
Yeah. But a lot of our work, particularly at this time of year, is rodent work. Yeah. So a lot of it is. Yeah.
And you see how big they can get. Like, I see some of those YouTube videos where literally a cat is having to go at a rat,
that's
and
right.
the rat's bigger than the cat almost.
Yeah.
That's scary.
No, they're very resilient, that's for sure. And cunning too. They're cunning, cautious. Yeah,
like a rat up a drain pipe, eh?
Yeah.
They say. But I guess are these insects, do they get to a certain size because there's so much food around for them?
Yeah, normally they will. You're quite right. Yeah, they'll get to a certain size because they'll basically be able to live in the ideal environment. For,
Mate. Yeah, bugger that.
Yeah.
Keep them small. Small or dead.
Yeah.
Is there anything that is sort of classed as a rodent that you sort of or a pest that you sort of would think twice about killing, or do you, if it's like a bit cute or something like that?
Oh, dare I say, for me personally, possums. I really like that. They are a pest in New Zealand, but not in Australia.
That's weird.
They're protected in Australia. So we do, treat for them, but that'd be one of the main ones. And the other ones would be not that we do it, but people will ring up about stray cats and so forth, and that's something that personally we don't do at all. But
Another episode of Country Calendar, actually. They were talking about the feral cat problem down the South Island.
Yeah.
Those things get massive. They're like the size of a small dog.
They do.
They're huge, like a lion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you have any? You wouldn't want to be trapping that sort of stuff.
No, it's personal. Not for me.
Personal preference.
Yeah.
No, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
That's why I asked. Like, I think people everyone's got a conscience, and they sort of think what some people think might be a pest. Like some people think, well, it's not entirely a pest. Maybe it's just because you don't like them or something like that.
Yeah, we've got a cat at home, for example, so I couldn't sort of. Yeah.
No, that's cool. Yeah, we'll keep it alive.
Yeah,
if you can. Yeah, mate, it's been really interesting. I think I've learned a fair bit just yarning about pests.
Thank you very much.
Mate, I appreciate it.
That's great.
Hopefully, you guys coming into that busy season towards the end of the year, I guess.
Spring is when it really starts. So that September, October period is when it starts to lift again. So
that's cool. Be good to get you in for a chat with the team and do a bit of education around pest control prior to the to the pest season starting off. So
wonderful.
Mate, appreciate your time and thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Cheers.